Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tori and today we are working in my October daily album for 2024 on story number 7. I have quite a few things pulled out here, the first of them being this October Days stamp set that is available on my Etsy shop. I also have my story number stickers that I've been using throughout these layouts. And then I am going to be using some papers from Ali Edwards and Studio Calico, and that little journaling card I showed at the beginning was from the same Studio Calico paper pack. Today I am documenting some little drawings that my kids drew me, and some photos of them actually doing the drawings and just individual pictures of them alone before I got the one of them in the middle drawing together. So my son had approached me the other day and asked me if he could use some of my paper and some of my markers to draw me a photo. And I really liked the idea of him drawing an October or a Halloween themed photo. So I asked him if he would be willing to draw me something that I could specifically place in my October daily album. And he loved the idea. You can see over on the right hand side, he drew a pretty kind of detailed photo. He actually drew both me and him trick-or-treating together and asked me to teach him how to draw pumpkins and all sorts of stuff. So it was a nice little kind of moment between all of us, all of the drawing and learning how to draw pumpkins, because my daughter also drew a huge pumpkin as her photo. And I thought that these were just such sweet photos and drawings that the kids drew. So I'm super excited to be able to have these to put in my album this year. So for my photo of the kids, I actually collaged these photos together using the Pick Frame app and then trimmed it down so it's a little bit shorter than 4 inches tall. And then I just left everything as wide. I think this is a full 6 inches wide. What my plan is for this particular page is I'm actually going to place this photo. I'm not going to trim anything else out from it. I'm just going to place it directly on this black dotted paper. And then I'm going to trim the paper around the photo to add a nice little kind of border to the photo itself. And I'm going to combine both of these together essentially to create a pocket. And in that pocket is where I will store both of the pictures that my kids drew, as well as my little journaling tab. And yeah, it comes together quite quickly. And I would love to know, so this particular video, I think I only had about 15 minutes of footage. And after cutting out all of the kind of dead air is what I want to call it, but I'm sure that there's probably a more official term for it, and that phrase for me is just coming from my experience in call centers. But basically the parts of the video where I'm just not even on screen or I'm not doing anything, just trimming that up some so it's not so excessive. So I would love to know, because this video and my last 2 videos, I have just left my speed as is. So this is just not sped up at all. This is the exact pace that I am working at when I was creating these last couple of pages. And I'm curious if, as a viewer, if you like the style of video where it's not sped up, or if you prefer to see things sped up a little bit more. Like I said, since these were so short, this one only being a total of 12 minutes, speeding it up wouldn't I don't think really benefit the video itself that much. But I would love to know, because if you do like the actual true speed of the video, I could make an effort to either slow them down and not speed them up as much, or something like that, or maybe even go full regular speed for a whole video, but those could lead to much longer videos. So I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. You see me on screen here flipping my photo pocket up and down quite a bit because I was convinced that I was going to put this adhesive tape on the wrong side and mess up my pocket. So I was just flipping it up and down a whole lot to make sure that I was actually going to get that adhered correctly, which I do, and which I am happy I did. So then I'm going to pull out my scoreboard. my We Are Memory Keepers scoreboard, and I'm just going to use that because it's got a nice little sharp 90-degree edge for you to place your paper in before you're scoring it. I'm actually going to use this to try and get my paper lined up as evenly as possible. So I will need to trim a little bit of this black paper off once I get this attached, because I didn't actually measure it to make sure it was a full 7 inches. But that's neither here nor there. I knew that was going to happen before I even started the adheration process. But I am going to use the scoreboard 90-degree angle to try and get this as close to perfectly aligned as possible along the edges. And then I'll just bring in my scissors and actually trim off that little bit of excess that I'll have hanging from one side. After I do that, and get that paper trimmed off, I'm going to bring that scoreboard back out, and I'm actually going to adhere the 2 drawings that my kids drew me back to back so that I can flip either way in my pocket, kind of. I can either have one drawing facing the front or the other one facing the front. And I liked the idea of doing that because this is, I think it was like 80-pound cardstock or something like that. So it's not super flimsy, but they do still kind of bend a little bit. So I thought that adhering them back to back would give it a much more sturdier effect, so that I wouldn't really have to worry about it being bent too much if I was taking them in and out of the album to look at them. So I'm just going to use that score tape and place it all along the back of one side of the photos, and then pull that scoreboard back out and get these 2 adhered together as well. Then, once I have that done, I will work on my journaling card. So this is good to go now, and I will off camera a little bit later in the evening after filming this, I'm going to add a tab to this as well, similar to exactly how I'm doing it on this journaling card. And I believe that I just choose Halloween, I think is the tab that I put right on the top of that. But for right now, for the sake of the video, or what's happening in the video, I do only apply a tab to this particular journaling card. This one says Making Magic, and then underneath that just says Notes, and then has 2 additional little spots down at the bottom. So I had printed my journaling out on clear sticker paper, and I'm going to add that underneath the Notes section. And then I will pull out my October Days stamp set, and I'm going to pull out 2 stamps from that stamp set that remind me a lot of my kids. I'm going to use the little vampire teeth because that seems to be the one thing that my daughter loves consistently every year, is wearing those little vampire teeth. And she specifically was the inspiration for why I drew that stamp to begin with. So I'm going to use that stamp for her. And then for my son, I'm going to pull out the little bat stamp. And I'm just going to stamp each of those into those little square additional kind of spaces down at the bottom of this card. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. And I'm just going to pull out some of my Studio Calico Inky Black ink to get those stamped down with my little 1-inch acrylic block. And then we will move right along to getting everything added back into my album. I honestly, outside of these, don't think I'm going to be adding much else to this spread with the exception of my story number. And my story number is going to end up just overlapping my photo. There is a little bit of empty space down at the bottom of the right hand side of my photo. So I'm going to overlap my story number 7 right into that, so it kind of falls off the photo and overlaps into the black background as well. Then, like I said, once I get these all stamped out, I will just get this all placed inside the pocket, make sure everything kind of fits well and comes in and out fairly easily. But I won't specifically be punching my holes or actually adding everything into my album on camera. I'm just going to kind of show you the final look of everything. So once I get this last stamp down, I am going to pull out my story number stickers and get that added as well. I'm going to do a little bit of quick tidying and moving things to the side though, so I've got enough space to continue working and making sure that these items actually go in and out of my pocket like I am hoping they will. And they do, and I'm quite pleased with the way that this all came out. I really like this Ali Edwards background paper, but I always hate the idea of using it, or I have in the past, because I didn't want to block all of the handwritten words because I like them a lot. And I think that this was a perfect compromise for getting this paper used up, but still being able to enjoy the paper itself. So this is how everything looks. I've got a photo from my daughter and from my son. I'll get these added back into the pocket, and that's it. That's all I have for today's page. I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!